So we are all here today to talk about Teamdash's brand new feature, which it obviously revolves around AI. And this workshop is specifically designed to teach you how to unlock the potential of this amazing new feature, which is our AI-powered CV screening tool. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Steve. I'm Customer Success Manager here at Teamdash. And I'm always thrilled to share new features, to talk about how we can help make your hiring even faster, much fairer, and even more effective. Now, this is the newest in our suite of AI tools. We've already got many existing AI tools, which I know a lot of you are already using and loving, such as our AI writing assistants, our AI candidate summaries, tagging. We have our CV anonymization, and we also have our AI transcription and summary writing as well, which I know is saving you all a huge amount of time. But we believe that this new feature, which has been validated by the amount of interest we've had for it and the number of registrants we have, is going to actually be the most effective AI tool that we've released to date. As I say, it's all about making hiring even faster, saving you even more time and money, making sure that we don't lose that human touch, and just essentially streamlining things even further for you all. Now, this aligns with our mission here at Teamdash to empower you all with cutting-edge tech, but without impacting that all-important human and personal touch. There's a very important balance that we need to keep, and that is right at the center of our ethos whenever we deploy AI, is that the humans always make the final decision, okay? So, as with any new technology, probably more so with AI, actually, I would argue, it does raise questions, some of those very exciting, and some of them a little bit more concerning. So before we jump into the actual workshop itself, where I'm going to do a live presentation of the feature, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the rise of AI in recruitment, the impact it has, and also we'll then jump into some of the top fears that I hear from our users, from people that I speak to, but also from the wider HR and talent space. And then we're going to talk about how Teamdash actually addresses and alleviates those fears and concerns. Because again, whenever we deploy a new feature, especially AI, we do it in a way that's, we feel, is extremely responsible, completely transparent, and that, as I say, keeps that all-important balance of that human involvement and humans making the final decision. Then we're going to jump into the actual presentation, and hopefully we'll have some time at the end to do a bit of Q&A, answer some of your questions, but do feel free to ask some questions as we're going through as well. We also do have a poll, so please check the poll out and answer those questions as well. And you'll see that there's, there's a nice little special offer or treat in there for you as well. So yeah, hopefully by the end of this session, you're going to see how Teamdash can save you time, reduce bias, keep you, the humans, in control of the hiring decisions. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started and talk about why AI is such a big deal within recruitment today. So AI is no longer this futuristic concept that we see in movies that people have been talking about is something that's coming. It's here. And I think it's here to stay. And it is actually transforming recruitment. Now, we've actually seen a 68% increase in the use of AI from 2023 to 2024. Now, although the numbers aren't in yet for 24 to 25, we see this increasing hugely still. Some of the reasons why is the actual positive impacts that it is having and it's bringing to recruitment. For example, Recruiting Daily reports that Hilton Hotel Group saw a 90% reduction in their time to hire. So they adopted AI when they're hiring for their high-level talent roles. Yeah, and it actually managed to reduce that time by 90%. Huge figure there for us to think about. In addition, companies like Google, now obviously Google receive actually over 3 million applications in 2024. But by using AI to process such high volumes, they were also able to reduce their cost per screen by 75%. So although I'm sure and I hope you're not receiving that many applications, but still you can kind of crunch the numbers and see all of those cost savings that you're going to be gaining. So why is AI gaining so much traction? Well, put simply, it saves time, it boosts efficiency. There was actually a case study from Unilever where they saved 50,000 hours in candidate interview time, whilst also improving the diversity in the hiring process. So again, you know, there's some really impressive stats. I've shared links on the presentation slides for you to have a read of some of these articles, because yeah, there's some really impressive things there. So with tools like Teamdash's CV screening add-on, you're going to be able to process hundreds of CVs in minutes, focusing on the candidates who best match the job requirements, which obviously means less time sifting through CVs and more time building relationships. Now, while AI offers all of these incredible benefits, it also raises some valid concerns, which, again, from speaking with you all, I know that you actually share. So let's just take a moment to acknowledge some of those fears and help alleviate them with how Teamdash is addressing it. So let's be honest, AI can feel intimidating. And I know, as I say, from speaking with you all, that there are some things which you're all concerned about, quite rightly so. And, you know, we hear you and we've listened. So the first thing is, will AI actually introduce bias and possibly discrimination? There's been some horror stories out there. For example, there was, especially with some of the early AI companies, they were using things like facial recognition, which in my eyes is a big no-no. Obviously, that can introduce a huge amount of bias when it comes to things like gender, race, age, etc. But we don't ever use any personal or socioeconomic data when we are using AI to help score and screen. So with that fear of bias, if the AI is trained to include that personal data, then yes, there is a real risk. But as I say, we've designed it in such a way that we have fairness at its core. So in fact, our internal prompts inherently promote inclusivity and minimize bias. We remove all personal and socioeconomic data, ensuring that candidates are only judged on their skills, their qualifications and work history, i.e. on paper. Okay, so we're just having a look at the requirements of the role. We're having a look at what's contained in the CV. And that's the part that we use an AI for. Obviously, humans will need to get involved. And I'm going to show you how we recommend you do that to not only validate, but to also assess things like cultural fit and soft skills, because these also need to be considered, but you're not going to find them in a CV. Now, secondly, there's a huge worry about transparency. Whenever there's an AI-driven decision like candidate scoring or CV screening, we've seen examples of it lacking transparency. There's no clear explanation. Well, how did you come about this score? So this kind of black box makes it really hard, and I get it, for talent professionals and candidates to understand why. Well, why has this candidate been selected or scored at 100%? Or why do you deem them a low score so that we should reject them? Which can erode the trust in the process. So we always inform you, first of all, how and when AI is used. And we give you the ability to validate this by presenting the underlying data that has led to those scores. And again, you'll see this brought to life when I show you the example. But this is really going to help hopefully reduce your anxiety and build trust. There was actually a Harvard Business Review which noted that transparency really helps recruiters and candidates feel much more comfortable and to, again, alleviate those fears. So number 3, over-reliance. I probably over-rely on things like my sat-nav now. I think whenever technology or a new technology comes in, there is a risk of us just kind of almost dumbing ourselves down. But when it comes to recruitment, which is and always should be about people, then we need to ensure that we're not going to become over-reliant. And so there is a valid fear that AI may actually overshadow human judgment, reducing that personal touch. If we are over-dependent on AI, it could lead to missing out on candidates with some really unique qualities or potential that you can't find from a CV. as I said, cultural fit, personality, confidence. So this is why we always recommend to have this kind of hybrid approach where, yes, we're using AI to do the heavy lifting, but a human should then always get involved, and we could maybe utilize some extra tools, which I'm going to show you, to really get that kind of hybrid, that balance of tech and human to give us that end result. And finally, a fear which I find a lot of people don't like to speak about, because it is probably the most impactful to all of you all, is that there's a real fear that AI could automate so many tasks like screening, interviewing, potentially reducing the need for humans, which could actually lead to this displacement in the HR industry. But here at Teamdash, we believe that recruitment is and always should be about people. And so that's why, as I say, we really promote this hybrid approach. Humans should always validate and make the final decisions. I can't express this enough. So these fears are completely valid. They do stem from real challenges in the industry. But you'll see here at Teamdash that we've built our AI-powered CV screening with these concerns in mind. We're not here to replace human judgment. We're here to enhance it, and enhance it responsibly. So let's have a quick look at an example process just to really illustrate this. So here's how it works in practice. Okay, so you'll receive your applications, you'll upload your CVs. Teamdash's AI will screen, rank them. You can then review those scores, those ranks, the top matches, the least matches, and decide which stage these people go to, but not just based on the scores that have been given. You can validate these. So again, it's having this full transparency. I'm not just going to take the AI's word for it. I'm going to validate that. And once you're confident and you can see, yes, actually, this is completely accurate, you're going to start to build confidence in utilizing AI a lot more. Now, we also have another optional add-on, which is the async video interview feature. So this is going to enable you to assess those kind of softer skills, as I mentioned earlier. So let's say that we've got, a handful of candidates that have scored 100% based on the match from their CV to the job requirements. It's not just these hard skills that we're going to take into account. We need to assess things like cultural fit. We need to take a bit more of that human judgment. So why not now invite candidates to record a short intro video about themselves, where we can actually get to find out more about them and more of those softer skills, as I mentioned. Now, this is also going to help reduce time spent on, let's say, a 20-minute screening call. Why not watch a 1 to 2 minute video instead? So again, although we're enhancing the process, we're still saving you time at every single step. And of course, the human always makes that final decision. We can involve other humans, hiring managers, to collaborate with, to help us make these decisions. So it's a real combination of technology and our human judgment. Okay, so hopefully we've kind of set the scene. I've given you a bit of an insight into how we deploy AI and our own kind of thoughts on it, which is very much human-centric. So without further ado, why don't we jump into the actual presentation of the CV screener? So you'll all recognize the dashboard area in Teamdash. And for today's workshop, I'm going to use this sales manager role as the example for this particular feature. So imagine you're recruiting for a new sales manager and you have very specific criteria that you're looking for. In fact, we can see within the job description here that we list certain criteria that we're looking for. Okay, so we know the requirements of the role on paper. Now, if we jump into the screening tool, first and foremost, we need to add our criteria, but in true Teamdash fashion, I don't need to do anything manually. We've got a very simple one-click button here where it's going to automatically look at that job description and pull out those key bits of criteria that we're looking for. Now, of course, I can add extra criteria on here if I want. And in fact, I'm actually going to show you an example. I'm going to say likes dogs. And the reason I'm going to show you this example is because quite obviously, this is probably completely irrelevant to this role. Number two, it's quite subjective. And number three, it's unlikely we're ever going to find that out from a CV. So Teamdash's tool will also help identify potentially discriminatory or criteria which is too subjective. So when we go to run our screener, you can see instantly I get this warning. Now I've used a very extreme example here of likes dogs, but perhaps if we mention that, I don't know, about somebody's age, for example, potentially discriminatory, right? So I'm actually going to take Teamdash's advice and remove that criteria. But just to explain what we've got here. So across the top, here is the criteria that we're looking for. On the left-hand side, we've listed all of the candidates in the stages that we're choosing to screen from. And we can actually pick which stages we're screening candidates at. But we're right at the start of the process. So I've only got 20 candidates here, but this could be 200. And even with 20, it's going to take me a good amount of time to review those CVs. Of course, I can still come in here and I can manually review CVs, right? But again, one simple click, and within a matter of seconds, you're going to see that Teamdash has automatically sorted and scored all of these candidates and their CVs in regards to the criteria. So again, there's only 20, but it's still a good enough amount to take you much longer than what I've just demonstrated there. Now, I talked about transparency earlier. So again, I'm not just going to take the AI's word that Tyler Thomas here is 100% match. So I'm going to find out, okay, well, why did you deem him suitable here? And it's actually going to give me some extra insights from this person's CV, which again, I can validate if I want to by actually reviewing the CV. Once I'm confident, yeah, okay, great. Similarly down here, if we have any warnings, we can gain those additional insights. So not only do you know that AI is being used, you can get an insight into how these scores have come about. Now, if we use an example down here at the bottom, actually, where we've had two people that have scored 0, no experience in the ATS industry, no evidence of sales management, and they've got less than 3 years experience. So for those people that have scored 0, and I'm sure you all experience this, you advertise for a role, you get a huge number of applicants, I don't know, maybe 70% of them or less, completely irrelevant, right? So imagine that I had 300 and, that let's say that 200 of those people were completely irrelevant. What I can now do is by using our nice sorting mechanism, we can actually say, well, look, anybody that scored less, let's not be too harsh, let's say less than 35%, we're going to move to the rejected stage. Yeah, so although I've only got 3 candidates, imagine that's 200, we can get those people moved in bulk. Similarly, what we can do with the people that have scored higher than a certain percentage, maybe anybody higher than 95%, we're going to move straight to our shortlist stage. Or perhaps we're going to invite them to record an async video interview. Yeah, in fact, let's just move everybody higher than this, because again, we're not just going to take the AI's word for it. We're not just going to bulk progress, bulk reject. We're going to also include ourselves by recording or inviting them to an async video. So let's just change this here. We'll move these candidates to our async intro stage. And there we go. We're now left with 4 people that we might just want to delve a little bit deeper into. We'll leave them there for now, okay, just for the purpose of the demonstration. But when we jump back into the project view itself, we can now see that we've progressed these candidates who are going to be automatically invited to record their async video intro. We can see that we've also got those candidates which we rejected there. Now, something which I've not seen in any other platform is, as well as being able to screen these candidates, we can now, if we like, when we come to send our rejection email, actually use the context of what the screener discovered. Now, just to show you an example of that, I'm going to use my AI writing assistant here to prepare an email for Charlotte. And we can actually see that it's using the information that it found in the screener to actually write and prepare the rejection email. Now, I'm not suggesting that you do this for all 200 candidates in that example I gave, but when you're recruiting for some higher level roles, and maybe you're rejecting people later on in the process, we think it's important to give them some reasoning. You know, unfortunately, here's why you weren't successful. Because if candidates don't understand why they're not successful, it doesn't help them. It doesn't leave them with a very good perception of your brand. Okay, so really, really powerful, combining our AI CV screener with our contextual AI writing assistant. Really, really powerful. And this is all about keeping that kind of personal touch. So although AI wrote it, obviously the candidate feels much more valued. Okay, so we've had Teamdash in seconds automatically screen, score, and sort candidate CVs. We've been able to reject people who are completely unsuitable very fast, very easy. And if we wish to, we can actually still give them a reason. For those people that we're now inviting into the async intro, here's where we now bring in that hybrid approach. So candidates will be sent the invite to record their intro. Once candidates have recorded their intro and they submit it, we get to see that clearly and easily on their candidate profile. Here's now where I can start to assess this fine looking chap on some of these other aspects, these softer skills. You know, how articulate is Steve? You know, what's his body language? Let's really assess some of these other things. And of course, we can now also make a comment. We can start to collaborate with our colleagues by involving them. So here's an example where I've tagged a hiring manager. The hiring manager can now come in and also review this. Now, I do understand that in some processes, you may want to do what's called like blind hiring. Perhaps there's a risk that hiring managers could be biased. And I'm not saying that any are, but hey, you know, possibly. And so you may choose not to use this. This is just an example process of where we're being really kind of transparent and open. So once we've then collaborated and we've decided as humans, yes, okay, combining the fact that this person's a good fit on paper, we've now seen that they seem like they've got a great personality and they really fit in with the team, we're now going to progress them to the next stage. So the human's making the decision. AI is helping us lead us to that decision faster, but we're actually making that final decision. Now, once we've managed to pull these people through, and again, Teamdash, based on our automations, it would automatically progress people into the relevant stage. So I would see who's sent my responses. So again, my time and attention is going to be on the people that are higher priority. We can have automatic reminders being sent to anybody that's not yet done it. And of course, we've still got these kind of fallback candidates to come back to if we need to. So that was a kind of example, really, of a process whereby we can screen CVs in seconds. In fact, it's roughly half a second per CV, much faster than any human can do. Our AI will score, will sort using the job description, the information found in the CV. We provide complete transparency so that you don't just need to take AI's word for it. You can validate the reasoning. You can cross-check it with the CV, giving you confidence that it's accurate. And based on the volume of candidates that you receive, you can bulk reject, you can bulk progress. So again, these are all things which you're still making the decision on, but we're just giving you the tools to do it much, much faster in a much more efficient way. Now, I would love to answer sort of any questions which any of you have. We've kind of whizzed through that quite fast, actually. So I'm more than happy to, as I say, jump in and really answer some questions which have come through from you all. So I'm just going to jump across to see whether we have anything come over here. Now, what I would love to do as well is, again, for you to not just take mine and our word for it, that this is such an effective tool, but we would love to offer all of you the chance to have a free trial of this amazing feature as well. So you can register your interest in that either by responding to the poll question, or feel free to contact myself or your customer success manager for a free trial. Okay, let's jump in. So yes, it will work in other languages as well. So as many of you know, Teamdash is a multilingual platform. So if your instance is set up in a certain language, if you're receiving CVs in another language, absolutely, the screener tool will work in your local language for you. So yeah, that's a really, really good question. Also, there could be a combination of CV. So with all of our AI, if I write a prompt in Estonian, or if I write a prompt in Latvian or Lithuanian, for example, then, you know, it's going to give me my results in those languages. So yeah, absolutely. Great question that's come through there. Let's just see if any other questions pop in. I mean, perhaps, you know, if I was to go back to some of the questions that I get asked on this, is about really about that transparency. It's like, well, how does this score come about? And as I say, because we show you the reasoning behind it, I think that really does help to build confidence. The people that have trialed this already have, with a little bit of guidance from me, been able to very quickly start to very, you know, trust what the AI is doing. Will there be a possibility to use AI for screening async videos as well? That's a really good question, actually. And as I said, there is a risk when we start to use AI to assess people based on a video. There is a risk, if it's not been trained properly, that it could judge them based on things like gender or race. Now, obviously, if we did ever decide to implement that, and we haven't decided to do it yet, then we would ensure that it doesn't do that. But we're still using an underlying AI, so there is always a risk. However, in regards to the async videos, what you can actually do if you're using our AI transcription is you can download the async video and have Teamdash actually transcribe it. And produce a summary for you. So although it's not assessing candidates and scoring them based on their responses, it can produce a nice summary. Obviously, a lot of async videos are quite short, but there could still be a benefit there. And another question, should candidates be informed? I would always inform and be transparent with candidates that you will utilize some AI tools, but I would make it very clear that AI is only going to be assessing them on what can be found in their CV in terms of their skills. Because again, if you start telling people that you're using AI, which I totally believe that you should do, that could then start to raise some fears or anxiety in candidates. They might even try and kind of game the system, as it were. They might not feel comfortable being themselves. So yes is the answer. I would always inform candidates that you utilize AI, but reassure them that AI is not going to be making any final decisions. It's just helping us get through applications faster and assessing them on their actual hard skills. So yeah, another great question, actually. So I talked about the context of using what's found in the job description. But it's not just the job description area. If you also create landing pages, then it can also take the criteria from those. So yes, because we promote contextual use of AI and we want the AI screener to be using very relevant data, then yes, you would have to either have information in that job description field or in the job ad landing page. Some people use one and not the other. Birgit, there you've just said that you maybe don't use either, but yes, I would always recommend having that job description. It also really helps when it's producing your AI candidate summaries as well. So again, just to reiterate, Teamdash uses contextual AI. We look at the job description or the information on the job ad landing page. We're looking at your brand information. We're looking at what's found in the candidate CV. So this isn't just ChatGPT taking a stab and giving us kind of best guess at what it should do. Everything's very much in context. So another good question come through there. Does it also compare the information on LinkedIn profiles links or just the CV? So yeah, so it is just the candidate CV. It won't go and reference information found on the web, such as LinkedIn right now. However, because we have a nice Teamdash extension tool, if you're, proactively sourcing candidates where, perhaps they haven't sent you a CV, they haven't applied. So this is for you, Luigi. If you're proactively sourcing, you can instantly import candidate information into Teamdash from LinkedIn, which will include the information from their LinkedIn profile, and that will actually act as their CV. So although it's not a CV that's been sent, this is the publicly available data that's been pulled from LinkedIn. But no, so it won't look at a link and go there, but it will use that LinkedIn PDF version of the CV. Okay. Yeah, information about our AI and our responsible use, we can send anybody that needs it. We do reference all of our within our kind of DPA, where we use and who we use for all of that. In fact, for those of you where I know originally perhaps couldn't utilize AI because it was OpenAI, it was in the US, we now have the option of EU-based AI as well, using Microsoft services. So it may be the case that based on your IT team have told you that you couldn't use AI in Teamdash, that I think may have changed now. So you are much more likely to be able to get authorization to use it, because we do offer that EU-based as well, which aligns much more closely with a lot of people's internal policies. Well, great. I mean, there's been a lot of questions come through there. I can see that Trin, thank you very much, is for answering a couple of those that I haven't been able to answer live. We will do the same for any other questions that I haven't been able to address. There's been quite a few come through, so thank you for the engagement. It's been great, but don't worry, we will respond to all of those. And again, please have a look at that poll and respond to those poll questions, because again, it helps to build our understanding of our clients' fears, how we can most effectively impact and improve things for you. And of course, please do let us know if you'd like a free trial, because there's nothing like getting your hands on with the actual feature itself and trying it. Okay, so yeah, look, I really hope that everybody got some value out of this. Thank you all so much for your interest, your time and your attention. Have an amazing day. And yeah, I look forward to speaking to many of you very, very soon. But yeah, all the best, everyone. Thanks now. Take care. Bye.